Welcome to Race Centre. I'm Dazza. Here we have a KTM 1290 Superduke GT. This one's a Euro 4. Much of what I'm going to talk about is similar with the Euro 5 as well, but the Euro 5 is a little bit more extreme. Obviously it's on the dyno for tuning, so I'll run you through what's involved in the tune with these bikes. The first part of these ones, or the biggest part that probably needs addressing with these bikes, is the throttle maps. For those of you who are not familiar with throttle map is basically just the relationship between the twist grip and then the actual throttle bodies, the plates on the throttle bodies themselves. So this bike has 4 different modes. It has its track mode, sport mode, street mode, and rain mode. In terms of the throttle maps, so there's 4 of them, and we modify those with our NJ84 maps. Essentially, these bikes, for anyone who's got one, know that they've got oodles of torque, instant torque from as low down as you like. They basically have a flat torque curve where they've just got torque everywhere, which is amazing and great. However, when you're riding it, especially if you're going through twisties and you're coming out of a corner and you're wanting to get the power down, they can also be a little bit jerky in the throttle. And part of the reason for that is they're kind of providing you with nothing, and then all of a sudden you're getting access to this beautiful engine that's got all this torque. So you're going to pick up the throttle, and then all of a sudden you get a little bit of a burst, and you're on and off, and you get a bit of a jerky throttle. The throttle maps really do need a bit of ironing out. So the first thing that we do is we address those throttle maps and really smoothen it out. And basically what we're doing is that first part, let's say the first 20 to 30% of your throttle application, we're smoothing that whole area out. So really gets rid of that jerky throttle, makes it really smooth. And what happens as you're, like I said, you're exiting a corner, or you're starting to put the power down, because it's so smooth, you trust it and you start to use it, and then you get a lot less of this shutting the throttle or hesitation. When in standard trim you get a bit of a jerky throttle, so you go to get it and you get a little bit much, so you have to manage that, or you have to hesitate, and that obviously hurts your corner exit. When it's nice and smooth, you trust it, you pick it up, and just start to accelerate, and then you can access all that beautiful torque because the throttle's responded in a way that you would expect. So I'd go as far to say with these bikes that the throttle maps are at least 70% of the overall tuning process in terms of what you're going to feel in terms of power delivery and how the bike puts its power to the ground. So in traditional terms, when we talk about fuel tuning, I'd go as far to say if you were going to if you were just going to have the fuel side of this bike tuned in terms of, putting a power commander or something like that on it and just tuning the fuel side of it, you're kind of wasting your time rather than going and actually addressing the throttle maps. So with these ones, we do ECU tunes. We don't use piggyback units. You can use a piggyback unit just for the fueling, but because we're doing an ECU tune and addressing the throttle maps, we do all the fueling through the ECU as well, just so that we don't have to have an extra unit on it. As I said, first part is the throttle maps. With these bikes, you can just do the throttle maps. So if you've still got the standard exhaust on it, or you don't want to have the fueling done for whatever reason, like if you like the economy of the bike, and as I said, if you've got a fully standard system on it, you can just do the throttle maps, and that will make a massive difference, and make the bike more enjoyable to ride, power easy to use, and just an overall better riding experience. So highly recommend the throttle maps. And then on top of that, we do a fuel tune. With this particular bike, we've done an individual cylinder tune, and this one actually needs it. We've welded our wideband bungs into the headers. The best way to get the proper O2 reading is having wideband bungs in the wideband O2 bungs directly into the headers. So we've done that, so we get really good AFR samples. This bike has a Rottweiler air filter and funnel system, and that's particularly what causes it to really need an individual cylinder tune. In standard trim, these bikes, their fueling on them isn't too bad between, balance between front and rear cylinders. But on this bike, you can see that the balance between the front and rear cylinders is quite a fair bit off, with the rear cylinder being particularly lean. And that's just due to the Rottweiler air filter and trumpet system, which you'd expect. It's a performance item, so it's going to change the fueling a fair bit. This bike actually originally had a power commander with a map already in it, but we have removed that, and we are doing all the fueling for the ECU. Purely, as I said, because we're doing the throttle maps through the ECU and we're tuning it anyway, and we're doing a proper individual cylinder tune. It's not that there's anything wrong with the power commander, but we simply don't need it. And we always work on the operation of that if you don't need auxiliary units, then you shouldn't have them, because that's just one extra bit of clutter on your bike and potentially something down the track that could fail. So we've done the fuel tuning as well. We actually got quite a bit of horsepower out of this bike, all the way through the rev range, and quite a substantial amount of torque over just the standard map. And as I said, you don't normally get that sort of gain instantly just with the fueling, but with this bike we have, because it's got that the trumpet and the air filter system. It's had the primary silencer, or the first muffler removed, so it's got the headers, and then it's got a SC Project slip-on, so it flows a lot better, and with the fueling it's really responded. It's also all the way through the rev range and all the different throttle positions. The fueling's a lot better, so that the bike's just going to respond heaps better. So you got the throttle map, which is smoothing things right out. Like as I said, I can't undervalue how much those throttle maps make a difference. And then having beautiful fueling is like the cream and cherry on top that just makes the power delivery awesome. So got rid of a lot of the lean spots in the mid-range that the rear cylinder had. Makes it a lot smoother, a lot more power, a lot more torque, but a lot easier to use. So while it's got a lot more mumbo, it's actually easier to ride, easier to use, so that if you're doing a track day or you're going through the twisties, you're actually going to be able to utilise the engine a lot better and ride better, feel more in control, and a lot more enjoyable. But even though it's got more power and more torque now, it's not going to be, it's not going to, do anything that's going to surprise you, or you're going to get this burst of torque. You're just going to feel completely in control. So really big improvements, come up great. So it's probably time to go and have a listen to it.